Your 16th doubles will be stuck below 120 beats per minute if you don't learn the right way to incorporate your fingers. I'll show you exactly how to do it today. You can do this. Hey, welcome to the Non-Glamorous Drummer. I'm so glad you are hanging out with me today. I help beginner and intermediate drummers become the musicians that other people want to play with and have in their bands who sound awesome nailing songs. And we do this by teaching you the core non-glamorous skills that get you results in the practice room faster. And hey, while you're here, tell me if you can relate to this struggle. I think we all can. I know I can. You're playing, you're working on singles, you're working on fills, and you notice that one hand just does not work as well as the other. Probably the left hand, because most of us are right-handed. Most likely that left hand just doesn't want to play doubles very well. It doesn't want to play singles as well. It kind of just feels clumsy and incapable on the kit. It's not as fluid, it can't play as loud or as fast, and it's constantly causing trouble. If that's you, if that's your struggle, you've got to deal with this, because if you have a weak hand, you're never going to reach the full potential you could reach. You're always going to have that weak hand slowing you down, dragging you down. You're only going to be as good as that weak hand. So we've got to fix this, but know that you can fix it, and I've got a resource to help you do exactly that. My totally free mini course, the link is in the description below. It's called Eliminate Your Weak Hand in 3 steps. These are just 3 quick lessons that break down the exact steps you need to go through to make sure that both of your hands are doing the same thing and that you're ironing out all those troubles that tend to happen with the weak hand. You can fix this. This is going to give you freedom between your hands and just the ability to actually play what you want to play without roadblocks anymore, without obstacles. You can do that. Dive into that mini course. That's going to help you out a bunch and help you out a lot with these doubles and the lesson that we're getting into today. So without further ado, let's talk about doubles. So like I said at the top of the video, without using fingers, your doubles are always going to stall at around 120 or maybe even a little bit below 120, because it's hard to say, it's not a black and white line here, but around 16ths at 120 is where you really have to start incorporating the fingers, or else your doubles are going to stay sloppy, they're going to stay uneven, you're not going to be able to go faster. And I know for me, I think I explained a little in one of the previous lessons here in this series on doubles, how pretty early on in my playing, I was able to sit here and do what my college percussion teacher would call the middle school roll, where you go like this. You just hold the sticks tight and go back and forth, maybe stick your elbows out and kind of hunch over a little bit. That's not difficult to do, and I think probably anybody can learn to do that in a minute or so, where you're just pressing down, you're going really fast. But the problem with that is that you don't have much control over the tempo at all. They're super soft, and they're not very defined, they're not very articulate. If we want to play loud, clean, smooth doubles and have full control over what tempo we're at, and actually use them in practical scenarios and use them around the kit and use the strength and the finger skills we build here and timekeeping and in other things that we're playing, then we have to train those fingers. We have to use these finger skills. And so what we've got to do, in the same way that we used our wrists to even out our doubles in the previous step, so we got to that awkward tempo, the 100 to 120 range, where things were sloppy, weak, and uneven. In order to make the doubles stronger and more even, we still had the rebound happening. The rebound was still there, but we had to use our wrist to even it out like that. Well, at this point, we're too fast for our wrists. Our wrists are great, they're awesome, but they can only go so fast. We now have to incorporate our fingers to smooth out our doubles as we go faster. So just to reiterate this, we're still using rebound as we increase speed. Rebound is still there. Rebound is always going to be there, but we're using the fingers to increase the evenness. So we used our wrists to increase the volume and the evenness. So those two are the same thing, increase the volume and therefore the evenness when we were going slower. And now that we're going faster, we've got to use our fingers to increase the volume of that second note and therefore the evenness of the doubles. And so that's where we're going with this. So as usual, 3 steps for you. Really, it's just 2 steps. And these are definitely some things that you've got to be willing to take action on and be willing to be patient with, because just because I tell you how to do this right now doesn't mean that this is going to happen overnight. But if you've stuck with me up to this point and you've been following these action steps and working on your doubles, I have full faith that you will master this in time, whether it's a few weeks or a few months, you're going to get this down. So the key prerequisite really to the whole finger strength thing here, as applied to doubles, is building the finger strength, right? So the first thing that I want you doing regularly is the French grip exercise. I don't know if that's what it's officially called. I don't know who first did this. You'll see tons of drummers out there doing this exercise where you're essentially gripping French style with your thumb on top. You've got the stick resting here on this joint of the index finger, and then you're just using your fingers to propel the stick, just like this. And the louder and faster you can do this, the more of a finger workout you get. Now really, we say finger workout, it's really forearm muscles controlling those fingers, but you're teaching your fingers to operate and to work quickly. And that is exactly what we need for playing these doubles. But odds are you're not gonna be able to just sit down if you've never done this before and quickly go like this. So what I want you to focus on first and foremost is the grip and the form and doing slow but full stroke singles here. Just like this. And actually a lot of this weighs on just index finger and thumb. When you're going slow, you can just twist the stick back and forth here. The other fingers are just here to help out and help carry the load there. The first goal you should have here is playing eighth notes at 120. If you can get loud eighth notes happening at 120, where it's a full stroke, the stick comes to that full upright position, you're going to be in great shape here. But the key, you got to do this with both hands. Again, if there's a weak hand issue going on, check out the weak hand course, spend some time there. We dive into the intricacies of making sure your hands are working identically to each other, because both hands need to be looking the same here. So that might be a prerequisite before this whole finger workout, because that's going to help you out a lot if you are struggling with a weak hand. But practice this with both hands. Remember, the focus is getting eighth notes at 120, full strokes happening. We're making sure to not use any arm or wrist. This is just fingers driving the stick. Then as soon as you've got that form down, as soon as that's feeling good, grab your towel, or in my case, this little bandana that doesn't do much good because I don't know where my towel is, and practice this on a lower rebound surface. That way it's more of a workout. Still the same tempo, full stroke, eighth notes at 120. Make sure that you're doing this for a minute without stopping. That's how you really get the workout. You need to be feeling some burn here. And then once you're feeling the burn, stop, do some stretching, whatever stretching works for you, to just make sure your arms and wrists are staying loose. We don't want to get too tight. We don't want to get too tense. And I know a lot of times from my experience, what will happen is once I stop and I do some stretches and then I go back to it, I feel even better. And so that's going to definitely happen to you too, especially day to day as you work on this. Now, there's a whole bunch of stuff we can talk about with this French grip exercise, but that's pretty much the core of it. That's the main thing I want to have you focusing on right there. Make your grip look like this, thumb on top, do the full stroke eighth notes, aim to get them up to 120, and once you can do that, play them for a minute without stopping. Do that with either hand, and then start decreasing the rebound. That way you're getting more of a workout. This is going to help so much with your doubles. Then beyond that, of course, you can start going faster with this. And as you go faster, you can decrease your stick height. You can do one finger at a time, which is its own unique sort of workout. Just bonus steps I want to throw at you in case you're ready for that. Also, as you go faster, you can let the stick roll further back towards your palm. When you're going slower, it makes more sense to have it out here near the ends of your fingers. But as you go faster, you can let it roll back to here. That way you're actually able to get more speed since there's not as much stick motion, so something to consider also. But the main focus is just that first part. Eighth notes at 120, do that. That's gonna set you up for success here as we roll into step two. And step two is just the applying this, applying it to the doubles, where we want to go stroke fingers or wrist fingers. We could think of this as a wrist fingers motion where we're throwing the stick down. Remember that we have rebound playing that second note for us. So that second note is happening. It's there, but we've got to increase its volume. Now, when we're going slowly, wrist is the best way to do that. But remember, as we're going faster, like that fast at 120, that's pretty quick. Our wrist just can't do that. It just doesn't work so well. And so that's where we have to use the fingers. So what we want to practice doing here is wrist fingers, snapping the fingers in when that second note happens. So to think of this in slow motion here, as the stick goes down, so we're playing that wrist note, the stick goes down, and it rebounds. Remember, we've got that rebound. We want to use the rebound. As the stick comes up, our hand is staying open. That means our fingers are out here. So we've played the first note. The stick is rebounding. Fingers are out here. Well, now we're in position and we're set up to then snap the fingers in to throw the stick back down. And then we repeat the whole motion, lifting it up. So wrist, the stick bounces, and then we're right here in this position, ready to snap the fingers in. So that we can literally go wrist, fingers. and it becomes one stroke, one fluid stroke, but a two-part motion where it is a wrist, fingers motion. Now, it's awkward to practice this slowly, I know, and it's awkward for me to demonstrate it here step by step for you. And it's going to feel weird because it feels like an awkward snapping motion that's kind of rigid when you're going this slow. But practice doing it that slow just to get a hang of the motion. Then as quickly as you can, start going faster with it. And see if you can start doing it more repetitively over and over again like that. And then furthermore, what I want you to do here is see if you can pay attention to the difference between using wrist versus fingers. If you're going a little bit slower than that, so there's wrist, remind yourself, okay, this is what it feels like to use wrist. No fingers, just wrist. Now, what if I just use fingers there for the second note? And watch your hand, keep it in check. Make sure that it's only playing that first note, and fingers are snapping in on that rebound to then play the second note. So remember, wrist, stick bounces, fingers in. Wrist, stick bounces, fingers in. And so still, we're relying on the rebound. That's what I can't repeat enough here. We are still using rebound. We're just using the fingers to increase the volume of that second note so that the doubles are even, just like we did with the wrists in the previous lesson at that mid-tempo range. Something else you'll find is that the quieter you do this, the lower your stick height, the smoother this naturally is, and the more you're really able to use your fingers. Because the thing to remember here is the fingers operate the best at low volumes. When you're trying to go too loud, fingers feel awkward, but they work really well softly. So as you're playing these doubles softly, that's where you'll find your fingers will really step up to the plate and really excel here. Wrist fingers, wrist fingers. So we broke it down playing loudly, big dramatic motions, but now try it more quietly. See if you can get it going quickly like that. And you're going to find that the more you practice this, the easier this gets and the more powerfully you can play this. And so then at that point, we just want to alternate. Really, that would be our step 3 here. We just want to alternate back and forth in the same way we did with the wrists. But there's no slow way. This is kind of the challenge with this. There's not a slow way to practice alternating, right? Because if we try to use the fingers in alternating slowly, it's super weird, it's super awkward, because remember, we're having to use different techniques based on our tempo. So my advice to you is set your metronome to 120. Go back to the wrist doubles. Because remember, we've worked the wrists up. To do that, you can even go a little bit slower. Here's 110. And see if instead of using wrist, because you practiced paying attention to the difference between wrist and fingers, instead of using wrist here, try using the fingers for the second note. It might feel sloppy. I know it does for me, because we're not quite fast enough yet. We're a little bit slow, we're a little bit under tempo, but see if you can do that. I'm going to show you again what this looks like. I'm going to start off with wrist and then go to fingers. You can see how it's a little bit awkward, it's a little bit choppy. It's hard to play it smoothly because we're just not quite fast enough yet. But you can at least use this slightly slower tempo to test it out, test the waters, and get the feel for using fingers while alternating. Then, as soon as you can, start bumping the tempo up. Here's 125. And there it starts feeling totally natural to bring the fingers in. And of course, you can continue going faster just one hand at a time. And get the hang of that. And then you could just try diving into alternating from there. And then go back to one hand at a time. Do it left hand lead also. So try approaching it from different angles. Get creative with this. Practice going slower and bringing in fingers alternating. Practice one hand at a time, going faster, and then just going for it. But know that if you practice the previous 2 lessons where we talked about freely, slowly, quietly doing that bounce and alternating hands, well, that's going to help you a lot getting into this. If you stuck with me in lesson 2, the last lesson on this, where we're bringing in the wrists, then you should be good to go with this, where whichever angle you choose to take here, you'll be able to dive in, you'll be able to get these doubles going without too much trouble. Now, one extra thing I want to give you, there's another exercise you may have seen before, where instead of doing the French grip exercise to build fingers, though this is a great exercise, you can also pinch the stick up here at the tip with index finger and thumb, and then go like this. So this is kind of like the American grip, the palms down grip version of the French grip exercise, where you're literally just going like this, have the butt end of your stick like hitting your arm, but it's not hitting your arm too hard because it's coming into contact with your palm here. But this is a great workout. If you do this for just a few seconds, you really start feeling the burn. And so this is a great exercise to do in addition to the French one, to really test out your strength here and see exactly how it feels to use your fingers in an American grip context, like if you were playing singles. If you're playing fast singles, you've got to use the fingers just like that, and it's literally the same identical thing. So I just want to throw that at you there as a bonus. That might be helpful too, and you can use that to continue increasing your finger strength, so then you can apply it to the doubles. And if you're working out French grip on a soft surface, you're doing this, then you're gonna feel like you have superpowers when you then play your doubles on a practice pad full of rebound. You'll just have stick height and rebound for days, and it'll feel awesome. But of course, stay patient with this. And as we wrap up, I want to know, kind of like in the previous lesson, I want to know from you, what is the hardest thing about incorporating fingers into your doubles? What do you feel like is the struggle here? What's giving you the hardest time? Where's the disconnect? Tell me in the comments. I want to know so that as I'm planning more content on doubles, I understand what your struggles are and specifically what your questions are. So what's the hardest thing about incorporating fingers? What is your biggest, most pressing challenge or question at this point? Let's get some conversation going in the comments. But hey, I hope you've enjoyed this series on doubles. I hope this has been valuable to you. I hope this has helped you out a lot and been game-changing for your playing. This is going to help even out your hands, give you more fluidity and more timekeeping possibility, more speed potential in anything you do. These things carry over into so many other areas of technique and into playing. So hey, hope this has been helpful. Know that you can do this no matter what. You can master doubles. You can accomplish this. Thanks for watching. Stay non-glamorous. I'll see you on the next video.